Every time you walk into an American grocery store, you are stepping into a billion-dollar psychological trap engineered to quietly drain your bank account. From the deceptive size of the floor tiles secretly altering your walking speed, to the fake bakery smells pumped through the air vents, absolutely nothing in that building is an accident. Today, I am exposing 60 absurd supermarket myths that are silently manipulating your weekly food budget. Hit that subscribe button so you can finally stop getting scammed, and let's expose them all. 1. The giant cart. Myth claims carts are 40% larger than a decade ago, and that is not an accident, but a psychological ambush disguised as convenience. He walks in planning to grab milk and eggs, and suddenly that cavernous metal wagon makes 2 grocery bags look like a sad camping trip. And behavioral economists call it unit bias, but the store calls it profit. A half-empty cart triggers a subtle itch in the brain that whispers just one more item. He is not hungrier, the cart is just enormous. Bigger cart equals bigger basket size, and that quietly inflates his weekly bill without him ever noticing the trick. 2. The BOGO illusion promises buy one, get one free, like the store is handing out charity, but he rarely checks the price from last week. Right before the sale banner explodes across the aisle, the base price often creeps up like it trained for this moment. He feels victorious tossing 2 jars into the cart, convinced he beat the system. In reality, he sometimes just paid the regular price for 2 instead of 1. The word free lights up his brain like a slot machine jackpot. Retailers understand that math is boring, but the word free is thrilling, and thrill wins every time at checkout. 3. The pre-washed bagged salad. Myth promises triple-washed purity like it survived a spa retreat, but he is mostly paying for chopped air and convenience theater. Those plastic bags are pumped with modified atmosphere gases to keep the leaves looking camera-ready on the shelf. Then the second he opens it, the clock starts ticking like a game show countdown. Meanwhile, a whole head of lettuce sits nearby at a fraction of the price, wondering why it was ignored. He is paying up to 300% more for someone else to wield a knife for 30 seconds. Convenience feels modern, but his wallet knows it is mostly expensive moisture. 4. The fresh seafood counter myth suggests that the fish lounging on ice just came off a heroic boat at dawn, but in reality most of it was previously frozen and quietly thawed backstage. When he stares at the glistening fillets thinking premium equals fresher, when often he is simply paying extra for someone else to melt ice. Freezing at sea is actually standard practice and perfectly safe, yet the theater of crushed ice and handwritten signs screams luxury. He could buy frozen seafood for less and control the thaw at home. Instead, he pays a markup for ambiance and a sprinkle of maritime fantasy. 5. The sell-by date. Panic convinces him that the second the calendar flips, the food transforms into a biohazard, but most best buy dates are just manufacturer guesses about peak flavor. There is no federal referee blowing a whistle at midnight. He tosses yogurt, cereal, even canned goods into the trash because the printed ink says so, not because his senses failed him. Billions of dollars in perfectly edible groceries get dumped every year thanks to this confusion. The date is about quality, not safety in most cases. His nose and common sense are often better judges than a tiny stamped suggestion. 6. The 5 spray cleaning myth makes him believe he needs a specialized potion for glass, tile, granite, wood, and anything that dares exist inside his home. The cleaning aisle looks like a chemistry lab sponsored by marketing executives. In reality, white vinegar and basic dish soap can handle most household messes for pennies per bottle. He pays for fancy labels promising mountain breeze sparkle power when the actual ingredients overlap like copy-paste homework. The industry thrives on convincing him that surfaces are fragile snowflakes requiring custom formulas. His grandmother cleaned an entire house with 2 bottles and 0 drama. 7. The relaxing music. Life floats through the store like a gentle lullaby, but that slow tempo is not there for his emotional well-being. Research shows slower beats subtly reduce walking speed, which means he lingers longer and encounters more temptations. He thinks he is browsing calmly when the soundtrack is quietly setting the pace of his footsteps. Faster music would move him through like a speedwalk workout, but mellow pop keeps him drifting. More time inside equals more items in the cart. It is not ambiance, it is choreography. and he is dancing straight toward a higher receipt total. 8. The 10 for 10. Trap screams urgency from the shelf as if the deal self-destructs if he buys only one. He panics and loads 10 cans into the cart because the sign feels like a contract written in neon. In many cases, unless the tag clearly says otherwise, he can buy a single item for $1 and still get the price. The math was never forcing him to stockpile like a doomsday prepper. The bulk number just makes the offer feel dramatic and limited. He leaves thinking he hacked the system while his pantry wonders why it is now over capacity. 9. The baby carrot lie paints a picture of adorable miniature vegetables grown in a magical tiny carrot field, but they are usually regular carrots that were too crooked to sell whole. Manufacturers cut and polish them into uniform nuggets that look snack-ready and wholesome. He pays extra for the illusion of specialty produce when it is basically cosmetic surgery for vegetables. Now, there is nothing wrong with them nutritionally, but there is nothing rare either. The premium comes from processing and packaging, not sweetness. He could buy full-sized carrots for less and cut them himself in under a minute. 10. The rotisserie chicken favor feels like the store is performing a public service with that $5 golden bird spinning under warm lights. He thinks he is winning against inflation while the store is strategically minimizing its losses. Chickens nearing their sell-by window get seasoned, roasted, and transformed into irresistible dinner. Instead of discounting raw meat and risking waste, they convert it into a hot-ready meal that drives foot traffic. It smells amazing on purpose. He walks in for bread and walks out with a whole dinner. It is clever inventory management disguised as generosity. 11. Why the light olive oil? Misconception sounds like a fitness influencer-approved miracle, but light refers to color and flavor, not calories or fat content. He drizzles it over salad, believing he outsmarted the system, when chemically, it carries nearly identical fat and calorie numbers as extra virgin. The lighter taste comes from heavy refining that strips out much of the natural flavor and antioxidants. The label leans into the word light, knowing it triggers diet optimism. In reality, it is more about marketing semantics than metabolic magic. He pays for reassurance while the nutrition label quietly tells the unexciting truth. 12. The Select. A size paper. Towel trick looks generous with those half sheets promising flexibility and less waste, but he rarely checks the total square footage printed in tiny numbers. When manufacturers switch formats, they often shrink the overall paper amount while keeping the price steady. The roll feels innovative, but the math feels sneaky. He thinks he is getting smarter control over usage, yet the package might contain fewer full-size sheets than before. The visual bulk hides subtle reduction. It is shrinkflation wrapped in convenience branding, and his wallet absorbs the difference one tear at a time. 13. The floor. Tile trick sounds like conspiracy lore, but smaller tiles in premium aisles can make cartwheels click faster, creating the sensation that he is moving too quickly. That rhythmic clatter nudges him to subconsciously slow down, giving his eyes more time to wander over high-margin items. He thinks he adjusted his pace naturally, yet the environment quietly choreographed it. Now retail design blends psychology and architecture like a silent partnership. Bigger tiles and discount zones feel smoother and faster, subtly pushing him along. The store layout is not random decoration. It is behavioral engineering under fluorescent lights. 14. The limit 4. Per customer. Lie triggers urgency as if civilization might collapse without his immediate participation. He sees the cap and assumes scarcity, so he grabs the maximum allowed just in case. Often there is no genuine shortage, just strategic framing to create fear of missing out. Artificial limits amplify perceived value and speed up decisions. He rarely pauses to ask whether he even needs 4 jars of pasta sauce. The restriction feels protective but operates as motivation. Scarcity psychology is powerful, and the sign exploits it with bold lettering and a countdown vibe that lives only in his imagination. 15. The shiny apple. Illusion glows under produce lights like it belongs in a commercial, but that glossy perfection often comes from a thin layer of food-grade wax. Apples naturally produce some wax, yet commercial coatings enhance shine and lock, in moisture for long storage. He equates sparkle with orchard freshness, unaware that the fruit may have been in cold storage for months. Proper refrigeration can legally preserve apples close to a year. The polish signals newness even when the harvest was seasons ago. Beauty sells faster than botany, and his eyes sign off before his brain asks questions. 16. The brown egg. Superiority myth convinces him that darker shells equal deeper nutrition. But shell color is determined by the breed of the hen and nothing mystical. Brown egg-laying hens are typically larger and consume more feed, which increases production costs. That expense shows up on the price tag, not in added vitamins. Nutritional differences between brown and white eggs are negligible when hens are raised similarly. He pays extra for aesthetics and a rustic farm vibe. The carton whispers wholesome authenticity while the science remains boringly equal. It is poultry genetics, not a secret health upgrade. 17. The balsamic vinegar scam plays dress up with Italian romance, but many supermarket bottles are simple wine vinegar, tinted with caramel coloring and sweetened to mimic tradition. Authentic aged balsamic undergoes long maturation, sometimes for years, developing complexity that costs real money. The budget version delivers sweetness and darkness without the craftsmanship. He splashes it on salad, believing he bought a slice of Medina heritage. In reality, he often purchased a shortcut blend designed for shelf appeal. The label leans heavily on tradition, while the ingredient list tells a more industrial story in fine print. 18. The grocery pharmacy. Markup catches him when he tosses cold medicine into the cart for convenience. Over-the-counter, drugs in supermarkets frequently carry higher prices than the exact same products at dedicated pharmacies or big-box retailers. He pays for proximity, not potency. The active ingredients are identical, yet the setting inflates the cost. The assumption is that he values time over comparison shopping. The retailers know he is already committed to checkout and less likely to cross town for a few dollars. Convenience is comfortable, but it quietly charges interest on every sniffle. 19. The meat counter lighting scam. Bathe steaks in red-tinted fluorescent bulbs that make beef appear fresher and more vibrant than it might under neutral light. He judges quality by color, and the lighting understands that bias perfectly. Enhanced redness signals freshness even when the cut is days old. The illusion disappears once the meat reaches his kitchen and meets ordinary bulbs. Retailers invest in specific spectrums because visual cues influence appetite and perceived value. It is not falsifying the product, but it is flattering it aggressively. His eyes make the purchase before his rational mind evaluates the label. 20. The end cap bargain myth lures him with towering displays at the end of aisles, positioned like trophies of savings. He assumes prime placement equals special pricing, yet brands often pay significant slotting fees for that visibility. The location guarantees attention from shoppers who prefer shortcuts over aisle exploration. Many end cap items are regular price products dressed in promotional graphics. He grabs them quickly to avoid backtracking, believing he scored a deal. The strategy capitalizes on convenience and momentum. The true discounts might sit quietly halfway down the aisle, but he rarely walks that extra distance to verify. 21. The organic pesticide myth sounds like a pesticide-free paradise, but organic farming still uses pest control substances just derived from natural sources. And he sees the organic label and imagines untouched fields guarded by butterflies. Yet compounds like copper sulfate are legally applied and can leave residue. Organic certification focuses on approved inputs and practices, not the total absence of chemicals. The premium price reflects production standards and supply chain costs, not magical immunity from sprays. He pays extra for a perception of purity that is more nuanced than the marketing suggests. Nature still requires management, even on organic acreage. 22. The pre-shredded cheese convenience feels like a time-saver victory, but those fluffy strands are coated in anti-caking agents such as cellulose to prevent clumping. Cellulose is plant fiber and safe, yet it can subtly affect melt and texture. And he wonders why his pizza does not achieve that stretchy restaurant pull while paying more per pound than a solid block. The added processing, packaging, and labor inflate the cost significantly. A simple box grater at home delivers smoother melt and better value. Convenience wins seconds, but it quietly adds dollars to every cheesy dish. 23. The cholesterol-free. Peanut butter label beams like a medical breakthrough, but peanuts are plants, and plants do not produce cholesterol in the first place. He scans the jar believing he found a heart-smart innovation when the claim is scientifically meaningless. The statement exploits nutrition anxiety rather than providing new benefit. All standard peanut butter without animal ingredients is inherently cholesterol-free. He pays for reassurance printed in bold letters, so the health halo effect encourages him to assume broader advantages that may not exist. It is clever labeling that monetizes confusion about basic biology. 24. The human-grade pet food lie tugs at his emotions by implying supermarket kibble is barely acceptable while this premium bag meets restaurant standards. Human grade is largely an unregulated marketing phrase with no consistent federal definition for finished pet products. He imagines chefs approving recipes for his dog while the ingredient panels often resemble standard formulations. The higher price leans on guilt and love rather than dramatically different nutrition. He wants the best for his pet, and brands understand that instinct deeply. Sentiment drives the sale more than measurable upgrades in formulation. 25. The fresh vegetable mister looks refreshing as a gentle mist glistens over greens, but that water adds weight to produce sold by the pound. He associates droplets with farm freshness, while excess moisture can accelerate spoilage once items leave the display. Leafy vegetables may benefit from humidity control, yet constant misting is also theatrical. The extra water increases checkout cost by small amounts that accumulate over time. He unknowingly purchases hydration along with broccoli. The sparkle suggests vitality, but the scale registers added ounces. Presentation and pricing work together under those cool produce lights. 26. The eye-level quality fiction. Positions premium brands exactly where his gaze naturally lands. Retail insiders summarize it simply as eye level equals buy level, and he assumes the middle shelf carries superior options when often it carries the highest margin products. Store brands and budget choices frequently sit near his ankles or above his head. The physical act of bending or stretching becomes a barrier that many shoppers avoid. Convenience of sight translates into convenience of purchase. His neck angle influences his spending more than ingredient lists do in that quiet moment of decision. 27. The pre-cut fruit. Markup shines through clear plastic containers of cubed watermelon and pineapple that look ready for a picnic. He pays a steep premium for minimal labor that required a knife and a few minutes in the back room. The packaging also shortens shelf life because cut surfaces oxidize and spoil faster than whole fruit. Convenience drives impulse purchases, especially when hunger strikes mid-shopping trip. He could buy an entire melon for less and yield multiple servings at home. Instead, he finances plastic packaging and preparation for immediate gratification. 28. The thick-cut bacon value sounds hearty and indulgent, but thicker slices do not automatically mean more usable meat. Bacon includes both muscle and fat, and increased thickness often amplifies fat content that renders away in the pan. He equates heft with generosity while the package weight remains fixed. The perception of substance can overshadow composition. Depending on the cut, he may end up with similar or even less lean meat after cooking. Marketing emphasizes bold texture and premium feel. The sizzle distracts from the arithmetic happening quietly on the label. 29. The multigrain bread illusion carries rustic imagery and seeds sprinkled across the crust. Yet multigrain simply means multiple types of grain are present. Those grains can still be refined and stripped of bran and germ. He assumes whole grain benefits without checking whether the first ingredient is whole wheat flour. Color and texture create a wholesome aesthetic that commands a higher price. True whole grain products specify whole grain content clearly. The word multigrain sounds nutritionally impressive but lacks strict meaning. He buys the vibe of health rather than verified fiber density. 30. The greeting card racket ambushes him near the floral section with glossy folded cardstock, priced like a small luxury item. He grabs one during a last-minute birthday panic, without scanning the fine print. Supermarket cards often carry significant markups compared to discount retailers or bulk packs. The placement capitalizes on urgency and emotion. He feels obligated to add sentiment to his bouquet and accepts the price as part of the moment. Paper and ink become impulse purchases tied to guilt and convenience. The message inside may be heartfelt, but the margin outside is substantial. 31. The milk location. Myth pretends milk just happens to live at the back of the store, but that placement is strategic choreography. He walks in for 1 gallon and must pass bakery aromas, snack aisles, seasonal displays, and end caps before reaching the refrigerated wall. Essential staples are positioned deep inside to maximize exposure to high-margin temptations along the journey. The longer path increases the probability of impulse additions. A milk is a traffic driver, not a random placement decision. By the time he finally grabs the carton, the cart already holds 3 unplanned items that quietly inflated the mission. 32. The loyalty card rewards. Promise exclusive savings and insider perks, but his phone number functions primarily as a data collection tool. Every swipe builds a detailed profile of his preferences, frequency, and price sensitivity. Retailers analyze that data to tailor promotions and optimize pricing strategies that protect margins. The occasional discount feels personal, yet it is algorithmically calculated. He trades purchasing history for selective coupons that may steer him towards specific brands. The card does unlock lower shelf prices in many stores, but it also fuels targeted marketing campaigns that keep him engaged and predictable. 33. The banana ripening lie suggests bananas naturally turn yellow in perfect harmony with his shopping schedule, but timing is carefully managed. After harvest, they are kept green in controlled cold storage to slow ripening. Shortly before distribution, they are exposed to ethylene gas, a natural plant hormone that triggers uniform yellowing. The result is coordinated color transformation that aligns with retail demand. He interprets bright yellow as farm-fresh timing when it is supply chain precision. The science ensures appealing color and predictable shelf life. Ripeness is engineered logistics, not spontaneous tropical magic. 34. The deli counter savings assumption convinces him that freshly sliced turkey must be superior and therefore a smarter buy. No, in reality, per-pound pricing at the deli counter is often higher than comparable prepackaged options nearby. He pays for labor, presentation, and the theater of customization. The slicing machine, service time, and shrink from opened logs all factor into cost. While quality can vary by brand, the premium is frequently tied to service rather than ingredients. The interaction feels artisanal, but the receipt reflects overhead. Convenience and customization quietly raise the price per sandwich. 35. The cereal box slack. Phil towers on the shelf with exaggerated height and vibrant graphics that signal abundance. He equates box size with product volume without noticing the internal plastic bag floating in empty space. Packaging regulations allow a degree of non-functional air for settling and protection, yet the visual impression often exaggerates quantity. Tall, narrow boxes maximize shelf presence while minimizing actual fill. He pours a bowl and wonders how it empties so quickly. Design psychology leverages perception of scale to justify price. The carton looks generous, even when the contents are carefully rationed. 36. The impulse battery scam waits at checkout like a last-minute lifesaver for remote controls and smoke detectors. Those conveniently placed packs frequently carry some of the highest markups in the store. He rationalizes the purchase because he is already paying and does not want another trip later. The urgency overrides price comparison. Retailers understand that low-ticket add-ons at the register face minimal scrutiny. Identical batteries may cost significantly less in bulk aisles or warehouse clubs. Convenience at the register transforms small electronics into high-margin impulse items. 37. The aisle obstacle. Shipper lie disguises cardboard displays as promotional bargains when they often function as deliberate speed bumps. Positioned mid-aisle, these structures interrupt his walking rhythm and force slight detours. The pause increases visual exposure to featured products. Even without deep discounts, the physical disruption captures attention more effectively than standard shelving. He navigates around the display and subconsciously processes the branding. The structure occupies premium floor space because interruption drives awareness. It is retail traffic engineering disguised as a temporary stack of snacks. 38. The volume pricing scam assumes he believes bigger automatically equals better value. See family size packaging signals. Savings through scale, yet unit price comparisons sometimes reveal the medium option as cheapest per ounce. Brands rely on heuristic thinking where consumers equate bulk with efficiency. He tosses the largest box into the cart without reading the shelf tag fine print. Subtle pricing tiers can steer shoppers toward higher profit sizes. The math printed beneath the product often tells a different story than the bold family label. Assumptions about bulk savings quietly inflate the total. 39. The supermarket local farm myth features rustic signage and farmer imagery suggesting direct community support. While some stores genuinely source regionally, the retail intermediary still takes a significant margin. He feels connected to nearby agriculture while paying supermarket pricing structures. True direct savings usually occur at farm stands or community markets where overhead differs. The local label can represent real sourcing, but not necessarily lower cost. Marketing blends authenticity with retail economics. Supporting local producers is valuable, yet the price tag reflects the store's distribution and merchandising expenses as well. 40. The cage-free fantasy paints an image of chickens roaming sunny pastures, but cage-free legally means birds are not confined to individual cages. Many operations house thousands inside large barns with limited outdoor access. He interprets the phrase as spacious freedom when conditions may still be crowded. Certification standards vary, and welfare improvements depend on specific farming practices beyond the label. The premium price signals ethical progress, yet the definition remains narrow. Understanding differences between cage-free, free-range, and pasture-raised requires careful label reading. Simplified wording compresses complex agricultural realities into a comforting phrase. 41. The agave nectar. Health halo makes him feel like he swapped out evil sugar for a desert-born miracle. But agave syrup is highly processed and extremely rich in fructose. Fructose does not spike blood glucose as sharply as pure glucose, yet in high amounts it is metabolized in the liver in ways similar to other sweeteners. He pours it into coffee, believing it is a clean upgrade over table sugar. Calorie for calorie, it delivers comparable energy. The premium price rides on natural branding and trendy recipes. The bottle whispers wellness, while the chemistry remains fundamentally sweet. 42. The supermarket meal kit value looks like dinner made simple with tidy compartments and glossy recipe cards. He assumes efficiency equals savings, but breaking down the ingredients often reveals a significant markup over buying components separately. Pre-chopped vegetables, small sauce packets, and single-use packaging inflate the cost. He pays for planning, portioning, and convenience rather than raw food value. The kit reduces decision fatigue and time, which has legitimate appeal. Financially, however, he funds packaging logistics and labor that could be replaced with a knife and 15 minutes at home. 43. The bakery smell deception wraps him in warm bread nostalgia before he even sees a loaf. Some stores intentionally vent baking aromas or use scent strategies to stimulate appetite and positive emotion. The smell activates salivation and increases impulse purchases across multiple categories, not just pastries. He interprets the aroma as proof of constant fresh baking, yet scent can linger longer than production schedules. Sensory marketing research confirms that pleasant food smells elevate spending. His stomach joins the shopping trip as an unplanned decision maker. Appetite quietly expands the cart beyond the list. 44. The 99-cent mind trick persists even though he intellectually knows $9.99 is basically $10. Psychological pricing research shows that consumers process prices from left to right, anchoring on the first digit. Seeing 9 instead of 10 reduces perceived cost more than logic would suggest. He feels subtle relief at the lower leading number. Retailers deploy charm pricing across categories because it consistently increases purchase likelihood. The difference of 1 cent is financially trivial, yet cognitively powerful. His brain rounds down emotionally while the register rounds up mathematically. 45. The ugly produce. Rejection stems from a cultural obsession with cosmetic perfection rather than nutrition. Slightly crooked carrots or blemished apples often taste identical and contain comparable nutrients to flawless versions. He pays top dollar for symmetry because presentation influences perceived quality. Retail standards and consumer expectations historically sidelined misshapen produce, creating waste. When offered at discount, imperfect items can deliver strong value. The bias toward visual uniformity inflates demand for aesthetic produce. Flavor and fiber remain indifferent to surface quirks, yet pricing rewards appearance over agricultural reality. 46. The gluten-free weight loss. Myth persuades him that removing gluten automatically trims calories and boosts health. For individuals without celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, gluten itself is not inherently harmful. Many gluten-free packaged foods compensate for texture loss with additional sugar, fat, or refined starches. He may consume equal or greater calories while paying significantly more per package. The label suggests discipline and wellness, but nutritional profiles vary widely. Choosing whole foods can reduce processed intake, yet gluten-free cookies remain cookies. The premium often reflects specialty production rather than superior diet outcomes. 47. See the reusable tote guilt moment arrives at checkout when he forgets his bags and faces a small fee for a branded tote. Environmental goals drive many bag policies, yet store logos transform customers into mobile advertising. He pays for the bag and then carries it publicly, extending brand visibility at no extra marketing cost to the retailer. The transaction blends sustainability messaging with promotional strategy. Reusable bags can reduce waste when consistently used. The subtle business advantage lies in repeated exposure every time he walks through a parking lot or neighborhood with that logo displayed. 48. The checkout candy placement weaponizes decision fatigue accumulated over the entire shopping trip. By the time he reaches the register, cognitive resources are depleted from dozens of micro-decisions about price, brand, and quantity. Brightly packaged candy positioned at eye-level exploits reduced self-control. He adds a chocolate bar not from hunger, but from mental exhaustion. Behavioral economics research supports that depleted willpower increases impulsive choices. The placement is deliberate because the register guarantees traffic. A small, sugary addition across thousands of customers generates substantial incremental revenue. 49. The neon sale sticker lie relies on color psychology more than actual discount depth. Bright yellow or orange tags signal urgency and savings even when the price matches standard levels. He associates fluorescent signage with clearance and rarely verifies previous pricing history. The visual cue shortcuts rational evaluation. Retailers sometimes use sale graphics for temporary features rather than genuine markdowns. The perception of deal value increases purchase likelihood independent of true savings. His eyes interpret color as opportunity before his brain compares numbers on competing shelf labels. 50. The floral department trap displays vibrant bouquets near store entrances and checkout lanes where impulse potential peaks. Supermarket flowers are often forced to bloom early for aesthetic appeal and shipped long distances under controlled conditions. Accelerated blooming can shorten vase life once placed in a home environment. He buys them for immediate beauty without considering longevity. Florists may charge more, but sometimes provide fresher stems with longer durability. The grocery bouquet optimizes shelf impact rather than lifespan. What a visual impact today can mean wilted petals sooner than expected on his kitchen table. 51. The spice jar extortion hides in plain sight with those neat little glass bottles lined up like gourmet trophies. He grabs paprika or cumin for $4 or $5 without realizing the per-ounce price rivals luxury goods. The exact same spices often sit in plastic bags in the international aisle for a fraction of the cost. He is paying for glass packaging, brand recognition, and prime shelf placement. Spices are lightweight and high margin, which makes them perfect profit engines. A simple unit price comparison exposes the markup immediately. His chili recipe does not care about the jar. 52. The price equals. Quality fiction convinces him that the most expensive olive oil, cereal, or pasta sauce must be superior. And in reality, pricing in supermarkets is heavily influenced by marketing budgets, slotting fees, and brand positioning strategies. Premium brands often pay more for eye-level placement and national advertising campaigns, costs that trickle down to the shelf tag. Higher price can reflect quality in some cases, but it frequently reflects branding power. He equates cost with craftsmanship without auditing ingredients. The label design and reputation quietly shape his perception before taste ever enters the equation. 53. The self-checkout discount assumption feels logical because he is doing the scanning work himself. However, the price per item remains identical to staffed lanes while the store saves on labor expenses. He performs cashier duties without receiving compensation or lower totals. The convenience of shorter lines may justify the choice, but the economics favor the retailer. Reduced staffing and streamlined operations improve margins behind the scenes. He believes automation should equal savings, yet the benefit is rarely passed to the consumer. Efficiency increases profitability more reliably than it decreases his receipt. 54. The pure vanilla extract necessity makes him believe imitation vanilla is culinary blasphemy. Pure extract is derived from vanilla beans and carries complex flavor notes, but imitation vanilla contains synthesized vanillin, the primary flavor compound responsible for vanilla taste. In high heat, baking applications, much of the subtle complexity in pure extract diminishes. He pays a premium for authenticity when the finished cookie may taste nearly identical. For uncooked desserts, differences can matter, yet in many recipes, the cheaper option performs adequately. Marketing emphasizes purity while chemistry explains similarity. 55. The pre-ground coffee convenience sacrifices freshness for speed. Once coffee beans are ground, surface area increases dramatically and oxidation accelerates flavor loss. He compensates for weaker aroma by using more scoops per brew, unintentionally raising long-term cost. Whole beans retain volatile compounds longer and allow grinding just before brewing. The bag of grounds appears affordable up front, but can deliver diminishing returns in taste intensity. Over time, he may consume the product faster to achieve the same strength. Fresh grinding requires minor effort yet maximizes value per ounce purchased. 56. The bottled water purity belief suggests crystal springs and untouched mountain sources. In reality, a large percentage of bottled water in the United States originates from municipal supplies that are filtered and packaged. Regulations require safety standards, yet the dramatic markup reflects branding and convenience rather than rarity. He pays significantly more per gallon than tap water that already meets safety guidelines in most cities. The plastic bottle symbolizes cleanliness and portability. Marketing imagery of glaciers and waterfalls elevates perceived value. Hydration remains identical while packaging transforms it into a premium product. 57. The made with real fruit juice claim sounds wholesome, but labeling laws allow minimal percentages of fruit concentrate to justify the statement. He imagines fresh, squeezed abundance when the ingredient list may reveal small amounts of inexpensive pear or apple juice blended with water, sugar, and flavorings. Concentrate is not inherently harmful, yet the perception of fruit dominance can be misleading. The bright packaging and orchard imagery reinforce that impression. Sugar content often rivals soda. The phrase highlights inclusion rather than proportion, encouraging assumptions that exceed the actual formulation. 58. The almond milk value seems aligned with wellness trends, but commercial almond milk is predominantly water-blended with a small percentage of almonds and stabilizers. Thickeners such as carrageenan or gums create a creamy mouthfeel that mimics dairy texture. He pays several dollars for a carton that may contain only a handful of actual almonds. The cost covers processing, fortification, packaging, and branding. Homemade versions using soaked almonds and water can be significantly cheaper per serving. The perception of plant-based luxury overshadows the simplicity of its primary ingredient. 59. The sports drink electrolyte necessity convinces him that ordinary workouts require neon-colored hydration science. Electrolytes are important during prolonged, intense activity, yet most casual exercise sessions do not deplete levels dramatically. Many sports drinks contain substantial sugar content comparable to soft drinks. He consumes extra calories under the assumption of performance optimization. Water and balanced meals typically maintain adequate electrolyte levels for moderate activity. The branding leverages athletic imagery and medical-sounding terminology. i.e., for marathon runners, the formula has purpose, but for routine gym visits, it often functions as flavored sugar water. 60. The superfood tax elevates everyday ingredients into mythical health treasures through a single buzzword. Superfood lacks a standardized scientific definition, yet products bearing the label command premium prices. He pays $15 for a small bag of seeds because packaging implies extraordinary nutritional superiority. Many of these foods are nutritious, but so are far cheaper staples like beans, oats, and leafy greens. The term compresses complex nutrition science into a marketing hook. Perceived rarity and trend status drive demand. His grocery bill absorbs the surcharge for hype rather than measurable dietary transformation. He thought he was just buying groceries, but now he sees the battlefield. Saw bigger carts, glowing sale tags, strategic smells, psychological pricing, every aisle engineered to gently separate him from his money without him even noticing. The difference now is awareness. Once he sees the tricks, they lose their power. And that is exactly what Liebuster is here to do. If this opened his eyes, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks 10 for 10 means they must buy 10. Drop a comment and tell us which grocery myth shocked you the most. And if he thinks stores are sneaky, wait until he sees what we expose in the next video on the end screen.